Well, hello there. My name is Dave Vila. I want to welcome you to this new edition of News and Views, broadcast by Access LaPorte County on Public Access TV Channel 99. We are a weekly opinion program addressing, forget it. We will adhere to broadcast rules, but no one's First Amendment rights to freedom of speech or freedom of the press will be either muzzled nor denied. You would think after 13 years I have this thing memorized. I don't. Any unauthorized use of the accounts, descriptions, and events of this program without the express written consent of Larry Curly or Schmo is strictly prohibited. We hope you enjoy the program, the discussion, and the participants. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed your 4th of July weekend because we had a gigantic fireworks display up in Michigan. My daughter put it on. There was a bull riding device, a real bull, electrified bull that it was encased with an air...
Mechanical bull.
Mechanical bull. I didn't go on because I seen people fall off as soon as they got on. And at my age, falling off the wrong way would have probably put me in traction. So I didn't go on, but a lot of people did.
If you get a chance, it's very hard.
A few things that I discovered on the internet was, again, our Social Security checks. Social Security applauds passage of legislation provided by historical tax relief for seniors. This big bubble, beautiful bill of President Trump is going to, I guess, give us seniors a raise. Interesting thing, I got some information from the Communication Workers of America pertaining to, in response to concerns raised by CWA members, we have prepared guidance for CWA local officers and members regarding immigration and custom enforcement access to CWA work sites. And it goes on to say, what are the rights of the individuals who may be on the margin of being legal? Detainees and if you're detained or arrested, these are your what do you do? You have the right to stay silent. Should you do so, except to ask to speak to an attorney or get an attorney's list. You should not argue or lie, divulge information with immigration status. Workers have the right to one phone call, and workers may contact a consulate for assistance. It seems like the Communication Workers of America, who deal with telephone stuff.
Yeah, certainly.
They are members of the Communication Workers of America, and the CWA, their local legislative body, is informing the people who might possibly hire these individuals to tell them to keep their mouth shut. Recently I got a...
well, the first question would be, are these people paying dues or are they not? Now, if they're paying dues to the union, that's one thing, but if they're not doing that, then somebody should be saying something, and I would think that the union rep might want to report it up the line within the union, but that's okay.
Yeah, that could, well, you know, they're going after farmers picking marijuana fields in California. You know, I mean, they're going after the immigrants picking marijuana fields in California.
We'll go right up here in Michigan and see the same thing.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a move afoot by ICE to, in conjunction with the big, beautiful bill, because they're going to have more money to provide ICE agents. Last but not least, I get weekly reports from Michigan City Municipal Band progress for the future week, and on the July 10th program, I got a release from the band director pertaining to the program on Thursday night. That was last Thursday. And then I get a couple follow-up emails that showed his name and showed his partial email address, but it did not mention who he was associated with. So, and this email address, they asked for help. This individual asked for help, and I'm sitting at the computer. Hey, I'll help anybody. So I hit, yeah, I'll be glad to help. So lo and behold, I get a couple additional emails back from this individual who I thought it was. And after reading the second or the third email, it said, well, I need some help because I'm out of the country and I'm out of the city, and I need to get a certificate of, a birthday certificate for my granddaughter because I can't get it right away. Could you go down and get it for me? And yeah, I'll be glad to. That's my response. So then I get an email back, and I said, well, how much? So I get it back. And it said, well, go down to any local Yoco store, get yourself a gift certificate, $500, and then after you get it, email me back with the script off the back and give me the PIN number. Well, this individual that the email supposedly was coming from happens to do driver's training. And my granddaughter is involved in a driver's training program in the Michigan City area schools. And she happened to be driving with this individual on the streets for her driving lesson. And I then looked back at the email that he provided me with when he sent me this information pertaining to the band concert. And I noticed a discrepancy in his email address and the email address that wanted this $500 PIN number coupon. So I sent him back another response. I said, there appears to be something wrong here, whoever you are, because the email address that you want me to send back this gift card to isn't the email address from the individual who sent the original email from. Well, lo and behold, I have not received any additional information from whoever these clowns were that tried to get an additional $500 out of my pocket. Gentlemen, I rest my case.
You're lucky that's all you got.
Yes.
You could have got a virus or ransomware.
Really?
Don't touch those emails. Delete.
Well, everything, my email is fine.
My dad got an email and he called me up. He says that Norton says somebody placed a charge for $640 for Norton software and he should click here. I said delete. It's nothing. It's garbage. They don't have your credit card. They're lying. They just want you to click on there. Don't click on anything. Don't respond to them. Delete.
Look at all who the email was going to. I'm not going to mention names, but there's one, there's two,
Yeah,
there's Drew White, there's three.
they can do phishing for a lot of for a very small number of fish with a lot of bait.
Yeah, and they utilized
Delete.
Well,
Delete.
I didn't have to.
Because you might get ransomware. You might get virus. Who knows what the email can go. As soon as you open that email to read it, it might spark something. And then if you respond to them, they might send you something.
But I'm just saying,
Delete.
they used a local individual.
They do. They
to get a bait and switch.
They
to
only
get my-
change a few characters in the email address. They have the same name and a couple characters are different. And this is for Verizon, Amazon, anybody, Microsoft, anybody.
So just be forewarned out there
Don't take anything from anybody.
that if an 82-year-old can fall for it, other people can as well.
The sheriff, anybody. Don't take it from anybody. Delete. Ignore.
There are all sorts of scams out there. A lot of them have to do with Medicare, especially over 65.
Yeah.
If you get called by Medicare and you are over 65, just hang up. Because it's not going to be anything to do with your Medicare. If they need you, they will send you a mail
Or text.
or text.
No, don't.
Yeah, other than that,
Especially text. So the text is even worse than an email. Do not open the text. That could be
Yeah.
virus or ransomware. You won't even know it. They'll be in your phone, even you don't even know it, and they'll be stealing your information.
I'm on a daily phone call list from CVS and some from whether my Social Security is up to date and so on. And I say, in regards to CVS, I said, are you familiar with CVS laws? I said, you're invading my privacy. And the same thing with my Medicare or Medicaid cards. Are you up to date? I says none of your business. You
Yeah.
know.
Don't answer those. Do
But
not.
I lead
don't
them.
give them any numbers.
It's not
No.
them. They're lying.
Yeah, I just give them enough to lead them on before I just tell them to where to stick it.
You're playing in a dangerous world.
Yeah.
Okay, Bob.
Okay, I guess I'm next on the list. I wanted to start out with, now that we're past July the 4th, we're going to have a lot of farm markets in LaPorte County that are going to start to put out produce. And if you go to, and I'll hold a copy of it up, the LaPorte and Michigan City Visitors Guide, you're going to find in there a great layout of the orchards and farm gardens that are available in LaPorte County, the kinds of produce that they have, and many of them, along with this layout of the kinds of produce they have, also have their phone numbers in there. Please feel free to call, find out what kind of produce they currently have available that's fresh, and you will also know that there are many of those farm markets that come to Michigan City on Saturday morning. It's at Wabash and 8th Street, and they have a place there, and they will be selling their farm produce. And quite frankly, it's very good, very healthy, and generally a little bit cheaper because they haven't had to pay the transportation that a lot of the food markets have to pay in order to get their produce here from California, Mexico, or wherever. So as a result of that, you are saving the transportation fee, and it's very, very healthy. So take advantage of it at this time of year. If you'd like to get one of these, they're available at many restaurants. They have a stand there that you can just reach in and get it. Or you can go to the visitors, the tourism bureau, the visitors tourism bureau. It's at Marquette Mall. They will have these available. Please feel free to go and ask for one. And they're glad to give it to you. Next on the list, I know Tony has something on this also, but just for the heck of it, I sat down and played around with a few numbers in terms of a mortgage, because everybody's talking about the situation with SOLA and the fact that it keeps getting postponed. Well, one of the reasons I think that it keeps getting postponed is because Jay Powell, who's the chairman of the Federal Reserve, is refusing to cut interest rates. And if you do some study, you know ahead of time, because Trump's already said this, he's not going to replace Jay Powell. And when he does put a replacement in, I think you're going to find that there will be a significant reduction in terms of what a long-term mortgage will cost. So I just started playing around with one. And what I started out with, because they talk about in SOLA that these condominiums are going to start at about $600,000. So I assumed 1/3 down, which would be $20,000. $400,000 a mortgage over 30 years, and you're going to wind up paying $408,000 at today's rate of interest, which is 6.8% for a long-term mortgage. Now, if it drops 1 point, less than a point actually, down to 6%, and you get the loan at 6% with the new Federal Reserve chairman and the Federal Reserve having dropped interest rates, you will then wind up over that same 30-year period paying $360,000 in interest rather than $408,000. So if you're willing to sit tight for a year, you can save yourself $48,000 in interest. Tony, you want to talk about
I like your way of thinking. So the economy is built on, yes, people having homes and 30-year mortgages or 20-year mortgage or whatever, but a lot of the economy is built upon the transfer. It's built upon the exchange, the transaction. If Trump, and I believe he will, and he's been wavering back and forth about Powell, I'm not going to get rid of him, I'm getting rid of him, I'm not going to get rid of him, he's not going to be here in a month. He just said something 2 days ago. I don't know, but I think he's going to get rid of him.
He'll get rid of him in May because his term.
Well, I think he's going to get rid of him sooner than later. But if he does, and interest rates go down from where they are, if they drop, I don't know, I'm not a financial wizard, Bob is. If they would drop 1%, 1 point, 1%.
This was 0.8 of it.
If they drop 2%, 2 points. If they drop 3%, you will see a rush of people refinancing to get that rate. And the companies make their money in the transaction of the refinance.
Yes.
So not only will you see people saving money, and this is what makes the economy really run hot, you will see people making money in the transaction. And we're not talking hundreds of dollars, we're talking thousands of dollars. If you look at a closing cost, even for a refi, thousands of dollars. And you take that times millions of refis, because everyone's going to go from 6.5%, 7% to 4%. They're going to jump on that like wildfire and lock in. And you will see a huge amount of refis because people have financed. I like your $600,000 home, but I think Michigan City is more like a $350,000 home.
Oh, no, this was a condo.
Yeah, condo. You're going to see refinancing. But he brings up a point because Dave's holding an article there from Indiana Business Journal. And the headline of this article is Solar Project in Michigan City delayed as financing hits a snag. So what'd you gather out of there?
Well, didn't I say last week I mean, no, 2 weeks ago, didn't I say that at that redevelopment commission meeting, the city of redevelopment commission kicked the can down a road until, this article is 2 weeks late. The activity was already kicked down the road. It was approved by the redevelopment commission to extend this financing project 2 weeks prior to this coming out.
You see the date. This is Indiana Business Journal. It costs money to look at these articles. Actually, it costs $4 for 4 weeks to sign up for an intro rate. So a little good trick here, a good money-saving option here is Northwest Indiana Times charge a teaser rate for the first 3 months. If you do that, which I did, and you get to the closest 3 months, they'll want you to stay signed up. And it's very expensive. What is it, $10 a month or something for your online edition? If you say, no, I'm canceled, you're going to get an email from Northwest Indiana Times, online edition, and say, hey, we'll charge you, I think it's $20 for the whole year. Well, of course you're going to do that. So if you, and I haven't done about Indiana Business Journal, but I'm sure there's a teaser rate, and then they're going to hide a rate that we wanted to pay you $10 a month, or it's $5 a month, or $60 a year, or hey, if you just don't, if you don't get rid of your subscription, how about $20 for the whole year? A lot of companies do that, so be very wary. But this one right here is June 18th.
Oh, I apologize. I didn't look at that. I looked at this headline, and I just draw a correlation between the two.
June 18th, this article hit that SOLA is being delayed because they says they lost one of their finance people, and they're looking for somebody to replace that market. I understand that the city, and I'm very proud of the city if this is true, has told SOLA, listen, we're done waiting. We're not giving you money. You either do this or you don't. We have far too valuable a piece of ground right there. Now they did move the You Are Beautiful sign, so I don't know what happened, but this is a June 18th article from Indiana Business Journal, and it's a really good website.
Well, again, I'm only going...
On a financing loan, they can save more money by waiting a year just on the cost of that for interest than they would ever get from the city. So that's, I think, the problem.
You're right. They're seeing construction costs go up.
Yeah.
And I would venture to say they probably did lose their one of their finance people, but they know that they wait. There's a very, very high probability this project might become viable in the next 3 to 6 months when rates go down.
Well, the only difference between Tony and I'm saying a year, Tony's saying 3 to 6 months.
I think Trump is going to change, or somebody's going to force the Fed to change. He's not going to he didn't do it in his first term.
No.
He went after them in 6 to 9 months. He's not going to wait. He only has 4 years. He is not going to wait till Powell leaves next May. He's going to do it this summer. And this will set you up for next spring because people will start building. Actually, people start building right before snow around here. They start pouring foundations so they can build all winter long. But I think the Chicago-based Farpoint Development, they are waiting to see if this rate comes down because it might make the project viable. Now, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I watched the show, redevelopment show, and the two individuals were there talking to the redevelopment commission. Those individuals say that they have 1/3 of this project already sold, as far as the commitments to acquiring this acquisition.
Theoretically, that's 20%.
Right. So they got 1/3 of it sold, but the redevelopment commission allowed them to kick the can down the road this additional 6 months until December to obtain financing. That provided a little more detail than what I picked up from what I saw on a TV show. But basically, my thought was, well, if they're having trouble financing this $300 million project, how about reducing the size of the project to $150 million and build a smaller project?
So, I guess I'm going to pivot here pretty quick.
Go ahead.
We talk a lot, and we can talk some more, about all the housing that's coming to Michigan City, and the housing in LaPorte County, and the housing in Northwest Indiana. And honestly, I believe you are not very favorable of the number of apartments we think we're going to get here in Michigan City. Probably not a good idea. But We have been harping pretty hard on economic development to get something other than housing. And I heard this from a very reliable source last week. And this again is on Indiana Business Journal. An $800 million data center is coming to Michigan City. My understanding, and the understanding of this article, July 10th, so this is yesterday, is the old Anco plant at the Royal Road. It's going to be a data center that's owned by Phoenix Industrial Investors LLC. They paid $1.25 million for it. We know this is a hundreds of millions of dollar venture, which is a good thing. I hope, I suspect, just like when we talked about the sanitary district spending $100 million updating the sanitary district, they didn't want people to talk about it. But we need to get, I believe in being open in the government, so I think we should get ahead of things instead of holding this back and quietly not saying anything about it, even though they know. Now Indiana Business Journal has published, they know, and they have talked to people. I believe Clarence Hulse, give him kudos. He's the one that's involved in this. He talked about it. They left messages for Councilman Beatry, the council member Nancy Moldenauer, who represents the district where the data plan is planned. They talked to Councilman Prespolinski. So a lot of people know about this. And I believe, I would understand because I have other articles here that this data center, if it's the same data center that's been running around in Northwest Indiana, in Chesterton and Valpo and Porter County, which they threw them out, there was a lot of people against it. I don't think there should be. But Michigan City is very concerning to me because Holbert just announced it's getting a data center. They've known for a while, but they changed their zoning code to make sure that these data centers can produce a lot of noise. And we need to make sure they don't. I don't think Michigan City has that in their ordinance, specifically to data centers. So these people, if they are wise, they are probably pushing pretty quickly on a facility that has not been used, the Anco plant at Royal Road, which needs to be used. And it's probably a very good place because if you go out and look, or you know that, or even look on GIS, you can see that that data center, that Anco facility, which potentially could be a data center, which requires a lot of electricity, I'm going to leave this to Bob. Next, across the street, is a transformer station, a very big one. Just south of it is high tension power line, a lot of it. They need electricity.
Well, just to add to what Tony's saying, the problem with that Anco building, and technically it's actually the Royal Metal building, which then became the Anco building.
Federal Mogul.
But it was never built for cranes. So if you're looking at this as an industrial facility, operating cranes inside is not a situation that you will be available to use. So they have to find somebody who doesn't need cranes. A data center, to the best of my knowledge, is not a type of business that's going to need cranes.
And it's pretty broken up. There's not much free span in it.
Yeah.
It's an older building.
Yeah. Well, it goes back probably 40 years. If you go back to the old Royal Metal building, it was built to replace the Royal Metal building, which had to be torn down because of a lot of environmental problems and other problems, and then wound up, they bought that building, or had that building erected. But again, you're looking for somebody who does not need cranes in an industrial world. So those are few and far between, but this may be a big opportunity for the city.
But you were rightly talked about, they need a lot of electricity.
Yeah.
They need water. We have both of those right there. And I want to bring up the point that if they've known about this, and I'm sure they've known about far, far longer than I've heard, or far longer than Indiana Business Journal has heard, I'm sure there's been discussions, which kudos to Clarence Hulse for looking into this and hopefully polling those people that, if there are the people that were in Porter County, Chesterton, and Valparaiso, say, hey, come on down, we got a spot for you. We have Phoenix Investors LLC who has a building that would probably suit your needs.
Yeah.
And he didn't get ahead of it fast enough to get to the Plan Commission and change the zoning ordinance to make sure it's respectable to the neighbors with noise and other issues. And instead, we're spending our time on stormwater ordinance. I think it would be more important. Michigan City has a very good stormwater ordinance now. It'd be more important to get ahead of this because it takes you months, at least 2, usually 3 months, to get ahead of this, to get something like that to be respectable to the neighbors. Now, this area is industrial, but just adjacent to this area, north and east, is residential. And those people deserve to have a good place to live without a constant noise. A data center has noise and fans to cooling centers for their data, and they run all the time. It's not an on-off noise like an industrial complex. It is a constant drone. And the East Coast has been dealing with this for a decade at least, and they've got a pretty good handle on it. Now it looks like Hobart has a handle. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We just need to grab what Hobart did, put it in front of the Plan Commission, put it in front of the council, and make sure something like this works for everybody.
But I think that the other thing we have to look at is the electric rates. And I've talked about this before, so has Tony, so has Dave. There is a significant difference between I&M, which is in the eastern part of LaPorte County in terms of their electric rates, and NIPSCO. And when you start to look at a data center like this, they pay a huge electric bill. So as a result of that, they're going to want to see lower electric rates. And the question is, can NIPSCO provide those rates, or do they need to be supplied by somebody who has a large gas situation, natural gas situation, that could provide the energy for that facility? Now, NIPSCO does have that. They've got a solid natural gas type of situation. But from an electric generation standpoint, I think you're going to have to look at I&M in order to be able to supply the kinds of needs at the price that they would like to have.
And they have the ability to deliver it because they have high tension power just south of them. So they could grab potentially from the grid electric from Cook, Palisades, solar fields out in St. Joe, LaPorte, Newton, Jasper, Pulaski, Marshall. There's lots of solar running out there. And what I want to say about this, because we had some discussion with some different people this week, that the problem really, there is a problem with electrical power provided. There's a greater problem when there's a hiccup in the power and these data plants shut off and go to their own self-power, which is more expensive, and there's a load on the line that's whatever, 1,000 megawatts, and all of a sudden they're not taking 300 megawatts. The system doesn't know what to do. You've shocked the system, and that could potentially destroy a lot of electronics everywhere, because the system cannot react as fast as the data plant can react. Because when they see a hiccup, they don't want their electronics being hurt either. So they shut it off immediately, and all that power is, it's like a rush of water, and I hate to say it, like in Texas, a rush of water coming on you weren't prepared for. And it's not people that are getting killed, but it could be a lot of electronics, which could affect some people. There's electronics going all over. The hospital's running on it. They have their own system. So if they see a shock in the system, they will disconnect, and you start a cascade, a problem, and you can't catch up. East Coast is trying to figure this out. They haven't figured it out yet because they don't want to penalize the data centers. They make hundreds of millions of dollars. But they don't want to destroy their people that use the system either, because they would have to pay for their electronics being blown up.
I got a question, Tony, in regards to the ANCO property and the power lines that you're talking
Royal
about.
Metal property, to be historically correct, which became the ANCO property.
Well, anyway.
See, you don't remember that.
No, you're distracting me for a second. The facility between the power station and this data center is the South Shore tracks, and they run on 440 current. Could possibly the location of the South Shore be an influence on the location of this data center, that all three of these people could work together for a source of electricity in regards to a selling point to bring this place here?
Yeah, you bring up a good point, because that's where the high tension power line runs along the north side of South Shore. So the South Shore has its own power in its own Canton area, but they also have a corridor that runs east-west through LaPorte County on their right-of-way, which is a very high tension power line, which is a grid connect, I believe. So that has really helped them out, and it has nothing to do with double track. It's just that they're there, and the high tension power line
as a support mechanism, right?
And they obviously need electricity from the South Shore, so it helps them to make sure the high tension power line's on their corridor too, in case something happens. But I don't know if South Shore is connected at any point to the high tension power line to their Canton area. I believe it probably is. There's transformer stations. And if you go down Rural Road, you look to the east, there's a very large transformer station right across from the ANCO plant, the Royal Metals plant. And it would help them because you can't just take high tension power and bring it down to you. The wattage and it's too much. The amperage is way too much.
Now, we handle surges in homes and places like this, but how would you handle something that's that large in terms of the surge that's going to happen, and how do you deflate that or send that electricity into some other situation?
South Shore runs on indirect current, not direct current.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
But the grid. So what my
That's what I'm
understanding
talking
is
about,
in
yeah.
the East Coast,
Well, when you
If
say
these-
indirect current, you mean alternating current,
oh,
right?
they don't run on 210, or they don't run
Well, yeah,
on
but I think
110 or
most people
220.
I think most people out there are familiar with alternating current and direct
direct
current.
current, cars and houses.
Yeah,
They run on a different form of electricity.
Yeah.
And they convert that different form of electricity to their usage.
They phase change it to
Yeah.
their usage. Yeah, so the East Coast has this problem. And again, they don't know what to do because they would like their customers. So they have switches that react in milliseconds. And as soon as the data center sees a wavelength glitch or something in electricity, the switch automatically switches over, goes to their own power, which is cleaner and doesn't have a phase shift in it and wouldn't ruin their electronics, whether it does or not. And then the power plant has to instantly sense that at the same speed that the data center has to sense that, and reduce their power into the lines because that's flowing through the lines at electrical rate before it overloads the lines and starts shoving it onto, it's looking for a path of least resistance. It's going to go somewhere. That huge amount of electricity could overload transformers, the switches, switch gear. So as soon as they see something going off, and I think this is what the East Coast has done, they get a notification instantly from the data center to the power facility that we just switched. And then their system just switches. So they're instantaneous or near instantaneous. So they don't have the surge. So they know there's whatever, 1,000 less megawatts needed on the system. And they put 1,000 less megawatts on the system to equalize the system and not have complete havoc on our electronics.
Yeah, what I'm implying is we may already have an upgraded system in place for
We
this.
probably do because in LaPorte County, you see that I think there's at least 2 interconnect grid systems, which they are trying to connect these systems not just when power's gone, but to equalize power. And just 3 weeks ago, there was a notice put out nationwide that said any power generating facility, do not do any maintenance. We have a heat wave. We need every bit of power you can generate during the day because our air conditioners are running at 95 degrees. And we cannot have any systems go offline because the interconnect, and it's mostly the East Coast, needs this power from the central Midwest area because the West Coast has seen this many times, Texas has seen this many times. It's the East Coast that has a big warm cloud over them that generates so much electricity and they can't keep up. So the Midwest, which we have less people, more power generation, we can help them equalize across the interconnect all the way.
So we may be ahead of the game here in
I think
Michigan
we are.
City.
I think everyone's ahead of the game. Kudos for the power companies and the government for realizing this. I did see a map somewhere online, and I thought it was kind of creepy that they showed you the interconnect and the way things are and the balance between the systems across America. That is a public map. You can go online. I'm sure Homeland Security is going to wonder why you're looking at it, but it's very interesting to see where these trunk lines run out of here. A lot of them come out of here, southern part of the lake, and a lot of them come out somewhere around Tennessee, and a lot of them go down to Florida. It's not a grid that you think that would cover that much. It's pretty small. The trunk lines, pretty few. So I would be concerned about that because the interconnect probably can only handle so much power. If East Coast needs an extra 50% and we need an extra 30% and we have to run that, even though electricity is very fast, it's not that fast, that to get to New York might take a while instead of instantaneous. But back to the kudos, if we're going to get an $800 million data center, I think you should be ahead of this. I think we should have full disclosure. I've always done that in my public world. You need to tell people you're going to get some pushback. But we need to make sure that everyone knows what we're doing. This is a good spot. It's a industrial manufacturing. It's an old manufacturing plant. We do need to be careful because what we have going on, we have Tryon Road going on. We have another development going on up there. We definitely have the lake further north. It's a good spot, but we have to be careful how we do this. The golf course is there. Someday the golf course might be better used for something else, which most likely would be residential. So this data center is very good. It's $800 million here in the report, and I'm glad Michigan City is doing it. He told the city council on June 3rd, and they can't say what type, but we had a developer, Phoenix Investment Group, bought it for $1.25 million. I think they're going to make a good amount of money.
In terms of Michigan City, it'll be a huge positive for the school system.
Oh, yeah.
It'll be great for everybody, but this is something the school system really needs.
And in support of this concept, I attended the meeting where Al Wallace made a presentation to the city council. I said later on that his presentation to the city council was incomplete because it made no reference to the third ward and the ditches and no reference to the third ward whatsoever in the city of Michigan City. This is a incomplete effort on behalf of Al Wallace to convince the city council for this stormwater ordinance when it does not include roughly 2/3 of the city of Michigan City with the ditches. So if I was prioritizing, I would prioritize this development right here.
Yes.
Versus
100%. That's money. That's money coming in. This is money going out.
This is incomplete information, and the sanitary district and the city council, redevelopment commission approved it, or who approved it?
Plan Commission.
Plan Commission approved it. They have blinders on. They have earplugs in their ears to what I've been talking about for the last 4 years. These people are pathetic.
This article, and I didn't watch it, and I
Well,
saw
I
the
did.
article, and I didn't know what they were talking about.
That's why I said it's incomplete.
Things didn't make sense. I'm looking for some of the things. Here's a quote from the article from Al Wallace at the Plan Commission. We just wanted to make sure that either the owner or long-term leasee who has responsibility for managing the property doesn't violate the ordinance, takes measures to prevent pollution from getting into the stream, and also do not obstruct the stream with the potential bridges or obstructions to the water. I didn't know Michigan City had a problem with bridges obstructing water.
No, but again,
He's talking about somebody building a bridge across one of those ditches.
I didn't think we had a problem with that, did we?
but what I've been saying for the last 4 years is the sanitary district put obstructions in where the Kinsel Ditch runs parallel to Strebel Pond to prevent the flow of water to go down to Black Ditch. It exists, people. The culverts are filled. I'm just saying the sanitary district is ignoring their responsibility to the entire city of Michigan City and is only targeting everything to the Glory Two Shoes to the east side of Michigan City. Let's be forward and let's provide their responsibility to the entire city of Michigan City, not just a select area. But it seems like this is going on deaf ears because they continue to pursue this, provide false information on MS4. I was there, no reference to the west side of town with Wallace's presentation pertained to the west side of town. Everything was to the east side of town.
You bring up a good point. That's why I'm confused. Was this MS4 or was this a new stormwater rule?
My understanding was it's a presentation that goes for MS4's consideration. This project has to be in place before they convey this information to MS4. So MS4 is a contributing factor to the language that they provide, but they're providing false information.
Now, MS4, House Bill 1307, which became law, signed by the governor July 1st, is in effect. Look it up, House Bill 1307. House Bill 1307 by, I think, Representative Pressel and Senator Dorio at Elkhart is very, very clear. It's only about 2 paragraphs. It says the rules that IDEM has in place, Indiana Department of Environmental Management has for MS4, erosion control, stormwater pollution, not stormwater quantity, stormwater pollution, which is quality, can only Those are the only rules you can follow. And any other rules you make are null and void. And it's very clear. And now Michigan City, if it's an MS4 bill or MS4 ordinance, why are we doing that? The state law as of July 1st is very clear for the whole state. House Bill 1307 tells you you can only follow the item requirements that are in place, were approved December 26, 2021. They are going to expire December 21st, 2021. So they have to redo those rules.
Every 5 years, I believe.
Every 5 years.
Right.
And I suspect that the people statewide, the MS4 people, are going to have IDEM change the rules to incorporate in the LTAP thing. Look how thick this is from Purdue. But I suspect, here I'm going to give my audience here an insight. Maybe the government's going to say you're not. You're going to abide by the rules we have in place today for another 5 years. And if you do this, I'm going to issue an executive order and stop you. We're not going to add hundreds of pages into the rules. We're going to abide by the rules we have. And that's what I want to quickly go to. All of this we've talked about. We have rules. Enforce them. We don't need to make new rules we're not going to enforce or choose to enforce.
See, in my listening to the presentation that Wallace made at the city council meeting, it talked about this information then be eventually conveyed to MS4 for their efforts. So what you're saying is this ordinance may be in violation to existing MS4's rules and regulations?
As of July 1st of this year, House Bill 1307 is law.
Well,
the only rules you can follow are the rules that IDEM has for the state of Indiana that are approved by the federal government. And if you make new rules, they are null and void. It says it right in the law. And you can't require assurances. You can only do things that are in the ordinance. And my question to the attorneys, if you look at the IDEM page, I didn't bring it, it's 47 pages long. It's pretty long itself. There's only a very few places in that ordinance that says you're even allowed to charge fees. And the only fees you're allowed to charge is IDEM's notice of intent fee, notice of intent fee, NOI, for I think $150. So I don't know why the attorneys think that they just don't have to abide by the law, or that's not the way we read the law. And just like, do we get to do that? Hey, I don't read the law that way. Sorry, officer. I thought 55 speed limit was just a suggestion. I didn't know that the sign said 55 meant 55. Is that where we're going? Because the law is very clear.
Let me just ask a question, Tony. The Michigan City Sanitary District has an attorney on staff, on retainer. His retainer is $5,000 a month. Don't you think that he should be involved in the consideration to incorporate this incomplete ordinance with this? I mean, shouldn't he present that information to the sanitary district and say, hey, you guys are in error? Or should he just sit there and keep his mouth shut for his $5,000 retainer and say absolutely nothing?
And you've been public officials, and you know that you hire attorneys to help you abide by the law.
That's my point.
And you
right?
get their opinion.
Right.
If I was both the elected official or sanitary district or anyone on the board, I would ask my attorney, my legal counsel, to protect me and get an opinion from the highest attorney in Indiana, the Indiana Attorney General. What does House Bill 1307 say? What can or can't we do? Can we charge fees? Can we ask for assurances like bonds or easements? By law, can we do that? And if the Attorney General says yes, you're covered. If the Attorney General says no, and you do it anyways, good luck.
Well, let me throw out an idea. I'm sure we're going to get some flack for this one. But at this point, because there's so much confusion over this, maybe what the sanitary district ought to do is hire a civil engineer who is currently working for IDEM. The Indiana.
They've got one.
Wait a minute. They don't have they do not have an engineer that has been on IDEM staff.
A former employee of the sanitary. They got the class act, man.
Christopher Burke does. Christopher Burke's offices in Indianapolis are right across the street from the State House.
Yeah, just hire somebody out of that office who knows what this legislation is all about, understands it, and can explain it to the attorneys. Which will probably cut down on all of the back and forth between the attorneys.
Yeah. Well,
but you're going to
yeah.
have to find somebody who understands this and can explain it to the attorneys.
Yeah, I'm not an attorney, but when I saw Mr. Wallace's report to the city council, I knew that it was inaccurate. I knew it.
So Bob is really good here, because that's what attorneys do. They try to push off liability onto somebody else. Michigan
that's their
City
function.
and everybody around this discussing this should ask for somebody like Burke, a professional, a licensed corporation, to give them an official opinion.
Yeah.
And write it down in an email, sign their name, because here's what could happen. If suppose you do an ordinance and after July 1st, you collect fees, you have bonds, assurances, whatever financial considerations you have, and the Attorney General of the state of Indiana says, no, July 1st says illegal. You got to pay that money back. And if you spent it, you got to find the money. And you might have to pay a penalty. It's real simple. I don't know why boards, commissions, attorneys, elected officials don't cover themselves by getting somebody who's responsible. So if Al Walsh hires Christopher Burke and they give them their advice, and I guarantee you they won't. They will not put on there that, hey, this is the way we read it, and this is it. They're going to have a bunch of other wording in there that says, well, if things change and the opinions are different, that's what attorneys do. They don't want them coming back and them paying for the fees they charged, or the penalties, or the assurances. So, again, I think it's free. Yes, this is statewide. This is not Michigan City, LaPorte County. This is statewide, this law. They need an opinion. Now,
on
even if
House
the Attorney
Bill
General,
1307, right?
House Bill 13. Now, if the Attorney General gives his opinion, it's his opinion, that's something you can lay your hat on, so you don't get sued, because if somebody, and I guarantee somebody in the state of Indiana, will bring this to the court, Circuit Court, Appeals Court, Indiana Appeals Court, Indiana Supreme Court,
Indiana State Supreme Court.
and they will make a decision whether what that law says, because the laws, I read a lot of laws. This one's very simple, it's very clear, it's only 2 paragraphs. That's it.
Could this be an attempt by us to maybe nip it in the bud before it is actually enacted?
Because there are communities close to us that have done things that weren't wise, and they have to pay the money back. And these communities could be $1 million, $2 million in debt, and we already know our budgets are short by $1 million or $2 million. I don't know where they're going to get the money, but they have to pay it. It's not a question whether they're going to pay it. They have to pay it, and I don't know where it comes from, and we don't want to be there.
But the first thing the sanitary department is going to have to start with, now maybe they wait for Indianapolis or somebody like that to do it, but you're going to have to hire somebody off of IDEM's staff who's an engineer and fully understands what this bill means, and will be ready to go to court if, in fact, we have to do that. They can rely on his experience or her experiences, and they can talk from that point forward about what the intent was and when it was passed, what that actually meant. You're going to have to find somebody who can do that.
That's a good point. You could just go to the head of IDEM and ask them, we want your official opinion on this House bill, on this law. We want to know what it is.
Citizen request?
Because IDEM is appointed by the governor.
Yeah.
And the governor says, governor's Republican, I guarantee he's going to go to the people that passed the bill and ask them what their intent was, and I know what their intent is going to say. Yes, we intended no fees. We intended no assurances. We put it right in there. There's no question about what we intended. And so then IDEM, through the governor, will probably say, listen, their intent's very clear. No fees, no assurances. This is the rules. That's it. You better make sure whatever you're doing adheres to this, which is easy, right? You guys are in the council, you did laws. It's simple. Just write another law that says, or another ordinance that says, we're going to follow the IDEM rules in place at the time. That should take you 1 page.
Except that you want them to actually spell out the rules that is in place at that time.
Well, you could reference the document.
Right, you can do that, but you also want them to spell it out so that there is no mistake in what you're doing.
Well, that's careful, because if you spell it out, you have to start changing you have to re-vote on the ordinance every time. If you just reference a document and the document changed, the rule changes automatically.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
And I go through this in the plan commission when I was there all the time. Everyone wanted to put stuff, you know, here's the 100 pages, let's put it in the rule. No. Let's just reference the rule. When the rule changes, we change. Because usually the rule changes are good.
So are you implying that this House Bill 1307 is in conflict with some of the information in this?
No, in the ITAP model stormwater standards, yes. This is over and above the present rule for construction, stormwater,
So then
pollution.
who takes precedent?
The bill says it's
1307 takes precedent
over anything.
this issue
and
right
it
here.
says, and it also says anything you do that doesn't conform to the present rules by IDEM for MS4 are null and void. So even if you had something, and it says everything, an ordinance, a law, a rule, it goes right through and says everything is null and void.
So then
That
why
can't be
is
any clearer?
Then why is the sanitary district pursuing Wallace,
know.
with this effort to generate legislation that is meaningless? Why is that
I don't
happening?
know. I don't know. It seems like, again, I'm going to go back to the $800 million data center. $800 million, income, taxes, jobs. We need to focus on that. Stormwater needs to hold off after this July 1st law came into place. And some attorneys say, nope, I'm wrong.
I got a feeling that somebody made an inquiry and there's something that is going on behind the scenes that we probably don't know about. Maybe it's,
I think there is now.
well, okay.
Well, in case our one viewer out there responds to our comment.
Let's just look at the changes that are going to take place in the west side in the next 5 years. Big one.
First of all, we don't own the prison property as of yet. First of all, we'll start
Well,
there.
I got that.
All right.
All I'm going to say is the prison's not going to be there. So they're going to get a significant drop in the usage coming through those sanitary sewers, and probably some drop in the amount that goes through the storm sewers.
But that's irrelevant to the sanitary district in regards to this legislation.
Just hold off a second. You're going to have to sit down and take a look at what the hell is going on throughout the entire west side.
No, I wouldn't. No.
Well, they're not going to do anything until they've got some type of a thought process, is monetarily, one more time, money-wise, what will occur as a result of changes in the west side. Big change will be the amount that the prison pays. So they're dropping in revenues in that situation.
Oh, yeah.
There are a couple of other facilities that at one point provided a lot of input for them that are no longer there, or that probably will be gone in the next 5 years. So when they look at the west side, what they're saying is a monetary loss. And somehow are you going to overcome that?
You're right.
I like the way you go because it's always a good segue. We need to look at the west side. And we need to understand that we need to look and know what our capacities are for stormwater, for sanitary, for water on the west side. Are we spending our time looking at MS4, which is a good thing, pollution prevention, or we need to spend our time getting ready for 5 to 10 to 20 years now at the capacities needed for the whole west side?
You took the words right out of my mouth because you can
Sewer,
speak more fluently than me.
stormwater, water, all has to be ready. You don't just have somebody come here and say, I'd like to spend, it could be $1 trillion. I'd like to spend $1 trillion on the west side. Do you have enough water? Can you take care of the stormwater? Do you have enough sanitary capacity? Oh no, don't worry. We spend our time making sure our pollution prevention plan's in place. Wait,
Well,
I think the west side needs a serious review.
Yeah, and it needs a review over the course of the next 5 years. Obviously, losing the prison will be a big situation, but there's other situations also that is going on the west side that will affect the monetary amounts coming in from the west side to the sanitary district, that they're going to have to figure out how do we make up for this.
I challenge the sanitary district, their legal department, their board of directors to prove us wrong. I challenge them to prove us wrong.
I think it's an opinion, again, as an elected official, a board member, legal advisor. I wouldn't make that decision. I would let the Attorney General make that decision. I'd let IDEM tell me what that decision is. Because when I have to defend myself, and not just Michigan City, everyone in the state of Indiana abides by this law. Somebody comes back, and there will be people, I bet you it's going to come out of Lake County, that will sue all the way to the Indiana Supreme Court. And the Indiana Supreme Court says the law is very clear. All that money you accepted for fees that you paid people salaries, you got to give it back. Now you have to hire somebody to find out who you gave the money to and give them the money back, maybe with some penalties.
That's why I like the idea up front of hiring somebody who is currently on the IDEM staff, a civil engineer or some type of a sanitary engineer who thoroughly understands what that says. Because when they go to the Attorney General, that individual can provide his or her opinion to go with what they go to the Attorney General.
Now you're an attorney, you want to shift the liability to somebody else.
Yes.
I don't think anyone's going to write you that letter. I don't think IDEM's going to write you a letter. I don't think anyone's going to give you an opinion that will accept the shift of liability to them. See, companies buy properties in the surveying world, and they do it all the time. Big corporation buys a piece of property. They get a survey, they get an ALTA survey, American Land Title Survey, which is usually a pretty big book of anything about that property, easements, access rights, ownership, lots of things. So they want a survey to document what was in that title company's report before they close on it. They're shifting liability. Some of that comes to me, some of that comes to the title company. We have insurances that we pay, errors and omissions, that which would protect us if something goes wrong, we miss something, or there's something we have to defend. I don't think you'll get any person. I know IDEM won't do it, but IDEM would be the first place to ask because they're under the governor and they would tell you what they're going to enforce. I think that's 60% of the battle. What they're going to enforce. Are they going to allow you to collect fees and insurances and other things that are in your rule but not in the state rule? I don't know. But then you also have the problem if somebody sued a community and went to the Indiana Supreme Court, I think they would win. And IDEM would say, well, we gave you our opinion, what we would enforce. The courts told us we were wrong. You got to enforce it. I guess you got to give those fees back and renew and get rid of those bonds. I'm sorry, that's the law. That's what the judge has ruled. And that's what's make America great. You can get opinions, you can shift liability, but when it comes down to the courts, they decide, that's it, it's over, stop fighting.
I got a totally different subject.
Okay.
We're probably going to have to spend next week on it because we're going to run out of time. But CNBC, which is commercial NBC, they do this every year, ran a listing, very good in terms of economics. They ran a contest among all 50 states in which they came up with what are the best states to do business in. Now, this is not local, it's statewide. Mm-hmm. As a result of that, when I first looked at it, Indiana was in the 11th place. I looked at it again and we're up to 9th place because they still are calculating out what was our good points and what was our bad points. But our real problem areas, and we can talk about this because we got the same situation in Michigan City. Number one, our workforce. We came in 33rd out of 50. Now, I don't know what all went into the development of the workforce module, but as a result of that, Indiana came in 33. Quality of life, we came in 48 out of 50 states.
Gotta be quick, you got like 1 minute.
And I got 1 minute. Education, we came in 46th. Now we had a lot of good things going, which is why we ultimately started out at 11th. We moved up to 9th, and we can talk about those. But those are three situations which we have to correct.
Focus and work on.
Yeah. Okay, I've had my...
Well, it's good to be back. It's been 2 weeks.
Yeah, I had another topic. I went down to the city auditor's office to the county auditor's office to get some paperwork for my Form 22, and I was informed by the auditor that I have to wait 6 weeks before I can obtain this information from the auditor's office, when in years past I would get it on when I would walk up and request the initial paperwork, I'd get the answer right away.
I think they're a little busy. It's budget time.
Well, this particular form should have been generated a month ago, according to my information. Again, in closing, gentlemen, I want to thank everybody for watching. Your input as to improvements or criticism of this program is greatly appreciated. Please contact show's co-producers, Bob Pollock, Dave Vila, or Tony Hendricks with your comments. You can email Bob at skrpollock@gmail.com, Dave at djvila1@hotmail.com, or Tony at emailagem@yahoo.com. Or you may address any future shows to our one and only pain in the neck staff writer, Sarah Bellum. Showing for our program will be Saturday morning at 10 a.m. and again Monday and Thursday evening at 7 p.m. on Channel 99, and numerous times whenever Andy comes back from his vacation, and numerous times throughout the week. You may also watch our program, Navigate News and Views, on YouTube. I want to thank everybody for watching, and make it a good day.
Get a copy of the LaPorte County Visitor's Guide, Michigan City and LaPorte. Take a look at the various orchards we've got and take advantage of the kind of produce we're going to have now through December.